hello. I am so excited. And, you know, I've been in that closet all this time, and I've been listening, and you all been so quiet. It's like there's nobody here. I was so amazed. Then my brother comes in and he says, hey, would you teach a lesson on modeling adding integers? I thought, whoa, I love to do that. So here I am. I'm going to teach you a lesson on modeling. All right. You know, Mr. Frazier, he never took the modeling classes like I took. I learned how to walk just like a model did, and I learned how to talk just like a model did. I learned all the things models learn, and so I'm good at modeling. Anytime there's a modeling something concept in math, Mr. Frazier asked me to come out and teach it. Okay, well, here's what we're modeling. Modeling. I like the way I wrote that, don't you? Modeling. So integer addition. Let's say all that all together. Ready? Begin. That all together. No, let's say integer addition. Ready? Begin. Integer addition. That's what we're modeling. All right. How do I look? This is my favorite pose. Yeah. Okay. Now here, we use what are called integer chips. No. Not buffalo chips. No, not cow chips. Integer chips. And here's what an integer chip is. We let this, it's a circle with a positive sign in it. That equals a positive 1. I'm a positive 1. Hey, if I look at a glass and it's about, you know, halfway full, I say, that glass is half empty. I'm very positive, you know. My brother, he's always one of the negative ones. He says, no, it's half full. No, I beat him over the head, and then he agrees. It is half empty. That's right. Now, when it comes to modeling integer chips, this one, a red circle with a negative, that's not a minus, that's a negative, all right? One of my favorite symbols. Now, so that represents a negative 1. Okay, this is pretty easy, isn't it? So far, so good. Let me tell you, there's one more thing you got to know. If you have a positive integer chip over a negative integer chip, they cancel each other out. It's like they're zero. Right? So if I take one step this way, positive, I take one step back, negative, I end up where I started. Okay, so if you start at 0 and you go 1 that way, and then 1 back that way, you end up at 0. So that's why we call 1 over there a 0. Now let's do a little modeling. Here we go. Are you ready? Now, 3 plus negative 5. Well, obviously, I'm going to need 3 positive chips. Because I say 3, that's a positive 3. 1, 2, 3. You get to do this too, okay? And then it says add to that a negative 5. Okay, well, I'll do that. Here I do that. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I added 5 negative chips. Aren't I talented? Now, I want you to notice something. Remember, anytime there's a positive or a negative, we can cross it out. It equals 0. So that one's over that one. That one's over that one. That one's over that one. Okay, I crossed out all the ones that are 0. What am I left with? Ooh, yes, 2 negatives. So I'm going to say negative 2. All right. So 3 plus negative 5 is negative 2. Aren't I brilliant? Now let's look at this. Negative 2 plus 5. All right, first off, how many negatives do I have here? Oh, 1, 2 of them. How many positives do I have here? Oh, I have 5 of them. I can't please think these one away. 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 positives. I think you get the idea now. Hey, do you see any over each other? Oh, I do. Oh, get rid of those. They equal 0, right? They equal 0. All right, so what am I left with? 3 positives. Okay, so negative 2 plus 3. 5 is getting negative 2 plus 5 equals 3. How about one more? 4 plus negative 4. I'm going to do this over here. All right, so how many positives do I have? 4. So you take your green crayon and you make 4. All right. How many negatives do I have? Ooh, I know the negatives. There are 4 also. So you take your red crayon and you make 4. Okay. Now what can we do? I see. I can start crossing out things. I love to do that. No, I'm left with nothing. Nothing. Nothing at all. My kitty cat back there in the closet, he is a brilliant mathematician. He ought to come out sometime. So I asked him, what's 5,435 minus 5,435? And he said nothing. Isn't he smart? It just makes me cry to think about that. Well, I gotta go back in the closet. But anyway, I miss you. I guess you're out here. You're very quiet. That's great. That's good. Bye-bye. Oh, wait. Well, I had to put my sister back in the closet. She's just getting too weird and too wild. I cannot understand. I hope you understood what she was talking about, adding integers using the integer chips. They are fun, and I just think, you know, they're better. I could have done a better job than that, but let's see. Oh, I'm sorry. I hope she didn't hear that. Now, let's continue with 11.2. Adding integers on page 579. First off, let's go to a football game, all right? So we're at a football game. All right, you hear the whistles blowing, the crowd is singing and all this kind of stuff. The bands are playing. Your team gets out there. Now, in a football game, you have, when your team gets the ball, you have 4 chances to make 10 yards, 10 positive yards, and if you, in those 4 chances, can make 10 positive yards, you get another 4 chances, all right? They call them downs, all right? If you can't make, in 4 chances, you can't make those 10 yards, then the ball goes to the other team, all right? So that's the goal. You want to make 10 yards. Let's suppose your team gets out there in the first play. They hand the ball to Mr. Frazier. That's a great choice. And I run through that offensive, the other line, and I make a gain of 6 yards. Woohoo! The crowd goes wild. The second play, well, they hand it off to me again. But unfortunately, there's Big Ben. And he's there, and Big Ben hits me and picks me up and carries me backwards. 8 yards backwards. That is not good. Sad face. It is a troublesome time. So I'm flattened on the ground. They use a spatula. They pull me up, and I go back into the huddle. All right, third play. They hand the ball off. Guess who? To me. I gain 11 yards. Now, the fact is, the crowd goes wild, and after we're finished, you're thinking, I just made 11 yards. We must have a first down. Because the rule is, after you get the ball, if you make 10 yards from where you start in the first down, second down, third down, fourth, if you make 10 yards, you get a first down. So I just made 11 yards. I must have made a first down. I will be so happy. Well, let's see how I did here. Okay, here we start. This is where we got the ball, and I gained 6 yards. And since it's talking about gain, I'm going to go this direction. 6 yards, yay! Now we got the ball there. Uh-oh, I got creamed by Big Ben. I lost 8 yards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh boy, that took me all the way back there. Well, they give the ball again to the best player, me. Now I make 11 yards. I start right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think it's right about there. Oh boy. I just gained 11 yards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 yards. Yes! Here's where we had to be. We had to make 10 yards from where we started in order to get a first down. Did we get a first down? Unfortunately, no. No first down. Now, we have a choice because we do have 4 tries. Now, we can either punt the ball away and let the other team have it much farther back on the field, or we can, try to make that 1 more yard. You see, that's all dealing with integers. And in one case, I'm adding the positive integer. In the other case, I'm adding a negative integer. Then I'm adding a positive integer. That's what we do. So integers deal with real-world quantities, such as football, such as temperature, such as rockets blasting off, those kinds of things, such as golf. Right? So you run into positive and negative numbers, and that's what this chapter is about. Here's the thing to remember. When you're adding a positive integer, you go right on the number line. If you're adding a negative integer, go left on the number line. Okay, so here's what you're going to be asked to do. Use a number line to find the sum of some integers. How about 5 plus negative 4? Now, I want you to notice, I didn't write it this way. I didn't say 5 plus negative 4. That looks like 5 plus minus 4. You must, when you write your problems, do it this way. 5 plus, and the negative 4 has to be in parentheses. That's because I don't want that positive sign to be messed, or this plus sign to think that this is a minus sign. When that's a negative 4, all right? So we're not 5 plus negative, subtracting 4. It's 5 plus negative 4. So use parentheses to show that. Okay, so let's start at 5. Here, that's my 5. And it says to add a negative 4. Well, if I'm adding a negative integer, I'm not going to go more. I'm not going to have more if I add a negative integer. I'm going to have less than I start with. So I got to go to the left. So let me do that. 1, 2, 3, 4. That takes me right here to positive 1. So 5 plus negative 4 equals a positive 1. And that's the way I would write it. How about this one? Negative 2 plus negative 8. All right, so I made my number line thinking ahead here. You notice Mr. Frazier did that. I'm thinking, well, if I'm going to start at negative 2 and add negative 8, I'm going to have to go to the left of negative 2. So I put my 0 way over here in my number line. I don't need 10 positives, right? I started right here because I'm going to be going to the left when I go adding negative 8. So here's negative 2. This is where I started, right here. And I'm going to add a negative 8. That means I go to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That takes me right here to what? Negative 10. So negative 2 plus negative 8 equals negative 10. Now you're going to be asked again, use a number line to add integers, and that's the work you've got to show. All right, let's move over this way. I got to help you out here with we learn about opposites being numbers that are on opposite side of 0 but the same distance. What's the opposite of negative 4? 4, right? What's the opposite of positive or 8? Negative 8 is the opposite of 8. All right, so we learn about opposites. Today we're learning about something that we need to know in order to be able to add or subtract integers. It's called absolute value. It's not the same thing as opposites, all right? Absolute value simply means this. It's a number's distance from 0. How far is that number from 0? How many clicks from 0 is that number? Now here's how it's written with these symbols. This is not 161. This is absolute value of 6. That's what that means. So you see these brackets on either side of the number? That's saying absolute value of 6. Whatever the absolute value of 6. Here, this would read absolute value of negative 6. Okay, so let's say, what is the absolute value of 6? Okay, here's 6. How many clicks away is that from 0? Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, that's pretty easy. So the absolute value of 6 is 6. You're going to see this, right, a little bit in your practice. Okay, how about this one? What's the absolute value of negative 6? Well, here's negative 6. And assuming you're going to write negative 6, it isn't. How many clicks away is negative 6 from 0? Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's still 6 clicks away, all right? So it doesn't matter what side of 0 it's on. We're just measuring how far it is from 0. And it's 6 away from 0. So the absolute value of negative 6 is the same thing. 6. They're both 6 away from 0. All right, so that's an important difference to remember. Here, I'll give you a little hint here. The absolute value of a number is always a positive integer. You will never, if you're asked to find the absolute value, you'll never write a negative in the circle here. It will always be a positive integer. So that's important because here's what we're going to do next and lastly for our lesson on this day. We're going to give you a way without using what my sister taught you about integer chips, without using number lines. We're going to add integers using just math. And here's what the rules are. First off, if you're adding integers and they both have the same sign, for instance, 3 plus 5, right? You use that sign after you add. So that's a positive 3 plus a positive 5, it's a positive 8. All right, remember, I don't have to write the plus signs. Okay, so use the same sign. That would mean, I would ask you if I'm seeing these two integers, negative 3 plus negative 5. Okay, do they both have the same sign? That's what I asked. Yes, they do. Oh, then add the absolute values and use that sign. What's the absolute value of negative 3? 3. It's 3 clicks from 0, right? What's the absolute value of negative 5? 5, right? So 3 plus 5 is 8. And then use the sign. All right, they both have a negative sign. So I say it's negative 8. So I added 3 plus 5. They both are negatives, so my answer has to be negative. So whenever you add integers and they have the same sign, add them and use that sign. If you're adding two positives, your answer is a positive. If you're adding two negatives, your answer is a negative. If you're adding 5 negative numbers, the answer is going to be a negative number. If you're adding 5 positive numbers, we already know this, you're going to have a positive answer. Here's the second rule. Let's suppose you have different signs. Let's suppose you're adding integers and they don't have the same signs. Okay? Different signs will subtract absolute values and use the sign of the greater absolute value. Okay, so -7 plus 10. Do they have the same sign? No. One's a negative, one's a positive. That's where you come to this second rule. Then subtract them. What's 10 minus 7? 3. So I wrote a 3 here. My next decision is it going to be a positive or a negative 3? Okay, which absolute value is greater? Then the absolute value of -7 is 7. The absolute value of 10 is 10. This is a greater absolute value. What sign does 10 have? It's a positive. Then my answer has to be positive. So here's the rule again. If you have different signs, subtract and use the sign of the greater absolute value. All right, let's try this one. 7 plus -10. Do they have the same sign? No. 7 is positive, -10 is negative. All right, then I got to subtract. 10 minus 7 is 3. Is it going to be a positive 3 or a negative 3? Well, the absolute value of 7 is 7. The absolute value of -10 is 10. This is the greater absolute value. What is its sign? Negative. So therefore, I have to use a negative in my difference here. In my add-in, my sum. -3. -3. So again, let's review. If you have the same signs, add and use that sign. If you have different signs, subtract and use the sign of the greater absolute value. And the final thing before we go, adding opposites, you get 0. Remember, opposites are numbers that are on the different sides of 0, but the same distance from 0. 5 and -5 are opposites. Your answer is going to be 0. If you add -11 plus 11, you get 0. It's always 0 for when you add opposites together. Well, that is some of the stuff that you're going to be facing today. Keep looking at this video if you have any questions, even if you have to watch my sister again. Hey, thank you. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.